Welcome to the exciting Mid-America Science Museum in Hot Springs. See, hear, even smell the power. Get up close to 1.5 million volts of caged lightning as you experience the world's most powerful conical Tesla coil.
My name is Richard Mathias. I am the Vice President of the Board of Directors at the Mid-America Science Museum, and we're here this evening celebrating a very special event. The Tesla coil that appears behind me here is going to be demonstrated later in the program, but right now we'd like to have an interview with a very special guest, our guest speaker, who is William Terbo. And William Terbo, as I say, is the Executive Director of the Tesla Memorial Society and is the grandnephew of Nikola Tesla. So I think you'll find him very, very interesting to have him make a few comments at this time. What we have behind me here is the largest, actually the most powerful conical Tesla coil operating anywhere in the United States, actually the world, called a Conical Tesla coil. And the gentleman that was responsible for all this is a fellow by the name of Nikola Tesla. He is the inventor of the radio, many other electronic devices, and who I have with me here is Mr. William Terbo, the grandnephew of Nikola Tesla. And Bill, we'd like to have you make a few comments.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm delighted that you have this large Tesla coil. Let me say that one of the difficulties with Nikola Tesla in the modern time is that his recognition of accomplishments is really not well known by the current younger generation. We do what we can to improve that, but it must be understood that Nikola Tesla is essentially the father of alternating current. He and George Westinghouse were supreme in imposing the alternating current as to the opposition of Thomas Edison. And also he's responsible for the fundamentals of radio, and quite often people consider that Guglielmo Marconi was responsible for radio. It's quite the opposite, that Tesla was responsible. It's unfortunate that no large company is named for Tesla, but you know, in Europe, if you buy a light bulb, you quite often you're buying a light bulb that is by the name of Tesla. The most important item that Tesla's name is attached to is the Tesla coil, and it's very nice that the Mid-America Science Museum has this enormous Tesla coil. It is unique in the respect that it's the largest of its type in the world, and a good example and a good indication for younger people who see the drama of a Tesla coil, to see how to connect the name of a very famous person for whom the modern age really exists in a large part, both for radio and for alternating current and for such interesting experiments as the Tesla coil. You know, the Tesla coil is not just a demonstration device. It's in every television set, every automobile, every electronic device. Any place where you take in electricity at a low voltage and want to raise it to a usable voltage, Tesla coil is responsible. So I'll be speaking this evening about a little bit of the personality of Tesla. I have a particular insight for the personality of Tesla, in that my father was his nephew and 30 years his junior, but also a very famous.
The individual I would like to introduce next is the person actually responsible for putting this event together and coordinating it. He's a vice chairman of our board of directors. He's also a person that was inspired at a very young age at a place very similar to this. And when he saw a Tesla coil at the age of 9, and then pursued a very successful career in electrical engineering, and was inspired by Nikola Tesla as a young boy. And thanks to his efforts, we also have the world's largest conical Tesla coil behind me. And so I wanted to actually demonstrate that and introduce to you Richard Mathias.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to apologize for all the problems we've been having with the sound system, but listen, there's a lot of people that were involved in making this successful tonight. And I'd like to acknowledge Andy Marquardt and his staff and many volunteers, so I'd like to give them a applause. Well, this Tesla coil is a dream come true for me. I mean, you hear people getting a hole-in-one, and that's very important to them. This is my hole-in-ones right here. Going back into time, 61 years ago, when I was about 9 years old, I frequented a place called the Griffith Park Observatory up in the Hollywood Hills of Southern California. This is a large museum here, but the Griffith Park Observatory is world-renowned for being one of the biggest observatories for the tourist sort of thing in the world, I think. They had something like 85 million people go through there in the last 70-some years. Their Tesla coil looks just like this, but about maybe a half the capacity. By the way, this is not the largest, it's the most powerful conical coil in the world. There's a big difference. The conical coil is what Nikola Tesla developed early on, and that's the reason we built the Tesla coil in this configuration. This was built by a fellow by the name of Bill Wysock out of California. He recently renovated the one in Griffith Park Observatory. I go back into time when I was 9 years old. As Andy said, I happened to go up to Griffith Park Observatory with my aunt. I saw this thing take off with the power coming out, looked like a lot of lightning. I decided, hey, I want to build one just like that. So what I did, about 3 or 4 years later, I was about 13, and I built 2 Tesla coils. You may have seen it in the photograph down here earlier. I built this for the science fair in Southern California. It turned out to be quite remarkable. To me it was. It produced about that much spark, but to me that was a lot. We did that, and then I went into the doldrums as far as electricity goes. I got interested in girls and junior high and all that sort of stuff. So I went in the background for a while, but then when I got married to my lovely wife of 50 years, who is right over here. By the way, let me introduce my wife, Mathias, who is also Professor Sparky. What happened is, after I graduated from high school, I entered the field of engineering. This coil really inspired my interest. I used to go to the Goodwill and buy radials, turn them apart, and make all sorts of things out of them. But then, as I got into junior high, I decided this is the field I really wanted to pursue. So I first went to work for Southern California Edison Company. That's where I met Mary Ellen, and worked there for a couple, 3 years. And then after that, I had the call to go to Westinghouse Electric. It's sort of ironic. I worked for Westinghouse and General Electric, the same 2 companies as Nikola Tesla. But anyway, I was there about 3 or 4 years. I went to work for Westinghouse for about 6 years, electrical engineering. Then I left and went to work for General Electric of all companies. Wonderful company. Went into power generation, worked there for 30 years. Left Dallas and came up to Hot Springs, Arkansas. And the reason this exists is we came up to Arkansas and to Hot Springs Village, and my wife was busy doing a lot of her things. I just kept sitting home for some reason, not doing too much of anything. Decided I need to do something. And one evening on NBC, I heard that Griffith Park was closing down the observatory for about 3 years and renovating the entire museum, I should say. At that time, I called the director, Mr. Croft, up there and asked him what he was going to do with the Tesla coil. I thought, gee whiz, wouldn't that be nice to bring that Tesla coil to Hot Springs? He says, no, that is the most popular, next to the most popular exhibit we have at the Griffith Park Observatory. But I said, well, then who's doing the renovation of that work? And he recommended Bill Wysock, who lives in Monrovia. Mary Ellen and I flew out there and spent about a half a day with Bill, and asked him if he would build me a conical Tesla coil like this, and I could bring it to this museum or the one in Little Rock. Little Rock wanted it really bad, but they had nowhere near the facility of Hot Springs, and not only that, I love this museum, as you can probably tell. So we then commissioned a job with Bill Wysock to build this Tesla coil, and Dallas Ellis built the Faraday cage. You can see around it, that's 2.5 tons of steel, and that protects the public from getting shocked and the radiation coming off of that. So what I'm going to do is light that up. I don't have a lot of time here, but we'll just light it up, give you an idea of what 1.5 volts looks like, and then Marilyn's going to come up and we're going to have a little drawing for the Tesla video. So we'll have a countdown. I'll light it up and we'll go from 10 on down, maybe 5. Let me get the right key here. We have people here at the museum that do a wonderful job. One of them is Kyle that's been running around here. He does a great job demonstrating it and many others, but I'll go ahead and turn it on now. Just realize the lights will go down, you'll hear a motor start up, that's the spark gap, I won't go into all the details. Just like a distributor, it creates a frequency that's going to be about 85,000 cycles. We're going to produce not only a lot of power, but also a radio signal, but this is going to ground out the radio signal, this large Faraday cage. So we'll do 5,